We have some breaking news to get to here on Philadelphia Eagles now, and this move came out of nowhere. Howie Roseman and the Birds are signing future Hall of Fame wide receiver Julio Jones. According to Ian Rappaport, Jones is being added to the Eagles practice squad right now, but he did add that you can expect a quick elevation to the 53-man roster once Julio Jones gets up to speed and understands the playbook. The Eagles even officially announced this as an organization on their Twitter page, and because Philadelphia will be wearing their Kelly Green jerseys against the Miami Dolphins on primetime coming up this week, they went with the classic Kelly Green print on that photo as well. Couple of tweets that we want to relay to the audience here. Adam Schefter also broke this news saying 7-time Pro Bowler Julio Jones signing a 1-year deal with Philadelphia per sources. He will be reunited with his former Titans teammate A.J. Brown, who pushed for Tennessee to trade for Julio Jones from Atlanta, along with playing with Brown in Tennessee. Jones also previously played with Eagles wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus when the two were in Atlanta from 2019 to 2020. Funny enough, Julio Jones might end up taking snaps away from Zaccheaus. And then Tom Pelissero adding this, that Julio Jones, and this is part of the discussion that we're going to have today because he is 34 years old. He's gotten injured over the last couple of years, and his best days are far behind him. Has played just 29 games with 3 teams over the past 3 years. Now at 34, he joins a talented Philadelphia receiving corps without the pressure of being a primary weapon. One more shot at a ring. And in case you don't know, now you know. In the words of Biggie, played last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He signed for Tom Brady's last hoorah with the Bucs, and then the year before that, that was the year that A.J. Brown wanted the Tennessee Titans to bring in one of his heroes at that wide receiver spot. And why Philadelphia is making this move here today, they want to fortify the depth of that receiving core a little bit once he does understand the playbook and gets activated to that 53. Quez Watkins, going into the game against the Jets this past week, was recently placed on IR with that hamstring injury that has been problematic for him all throughout the season. And you had an idea that maybe the Eagles are going to make a move at receiver because yesterday on Monday, the Birds worked out Marquez Callaway, formerly of the New Orleans Saints, as well as Desmond Patton. And I think that with Jones being accomplished, with him being in this league since 2011, he's going to be able to step in and play right away. Now, obviously for Julio Jones, he didn't sign with the team up until this point because he is finishing off what has been an illustrious career, and you can't expect him to be that number one guy that he was for so many years with the Atlanta Falcons, but a depth piece, you can certainly do better elsewhere. Now, this is why you subscribe to the show, because when the Eagles make a move, we cover it. We break it down, and we dissect it right here on the show. We are approaching 58,000 subscribers. We're 287 people away. So if you want breaking news videos that come out right after these reports surface, this is your go-to spot. As for Jones's resume, man, what a resume it's been. He's 34, as I mentioned. He got drafted in the first round out of Alabama, so now he joins alongside a lot of Alabama players on this roster, and in this receiving corps, in particular, Devontae Smith. He was with Atlanta for a decade, 2011 to 2020. Then he goes to the Tennessee Titans following that trade. He's only in Nashville for 1 year. He was injured a lot. The production was down. He goes to the Bucs last year, and soft tissue injuries really kept him in and out of the lineup. But as far as what he's been able to accomplish, we're talking about one of the best wide receivers in the history of the National Football League. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro, a 7-time second-team All-Pro. He's gone to the Pro Bowl on 7 trips. He led the NFL in receiving yards twice, a member of the 2010s All-Decade team, and he is 16th all-time in receiving yards. You can kind of compare this to a move that Philadelphia made last year, bringing in Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh, also a member of the 2010s All-Decade team, and you knew that his career was rounding out. and he was coming to an end in Ndamukong Suh. But you had a need, you addressed it. Howie Roseman's aggressive. He understands that this Philadelphia team has Super Bowl aspirations, so why not make moves to try to bolster this roster? He did it last year with players like Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. Obviously, Robert Quinn didn't work out, and this year he's bringing in Julio Jones. And once JJ is activated to the 53-man roster, I think there is an argument to be had that he might be wide receiver 3. Quez Watkins hurt. Olamide Zaccheaus is what he is. I actually think he's a pretty solid player, but if he can be your Zach Pascal from a year ago, that's not too bad. You know that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith firmly entrenched in those top 2 receiver positions for Philadelphia. And he has an opportunity here to reunite with Julio Jones and with A.J. Brown, and Julio and A.J. They've been friends for a really, really long time. Julio is a player who A.J. Brown grew up idolizing, looking up to. This is before they even played with one another with the Tennessee Titans. This is when Julio was with the Falcons. A.J., a young pup with the Tennessee Titans. They did the jersey exchange after they played with one another, and now they have an opportunity to reunite once again. Now, there's still plenty to talk about on today's show. Is Julio Jones washed? That's today's poll question, and I'm going to share my thoughts on that. And we have some really interesting numbers that we're going to look at on the other side. W for washed, G for gas left. What do you think Julio is, and who do you think he is as a player right now? What do I think about the Game Time app? I think it's the only app that you should have on your phone, or the only app that you should download if you're looking for tickets. And we're not just talking about going to an Eagles game. You want to go to a Philadelphia Phillies playoff game currently playing in the NLCS. You want to watch the Philadelphia 76ers, the Philadelphia Flyers. You want to go to a college football game or a comedy show or a concert if you like music. Game Time has it all. And this is what makes it the best ticketing app. Last-minute tickets and flash deals. I'm going to Game 3 of the ALCS right outside of Dallas and Arlington specifically. I got those tickets for like $30. It's absolutely crazy. You can go to games, concerts, and more. It's an easy-to-use app. What I love about the app is we can show you with these photos here, you get views from your seats. So you can see what you'll be seeing when you go to an Eagles game in this case or another sporting event. I love that vantage point and the price point that comes with it. For instance, you want to sit MetLife Stadium last week. There were really good tickets available moving forward. You want to go to an Eagles game at Lincoln Financial Field, Sunday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. You could do that as well. Still tickets available for that game. So best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer, and you're guaranteed to get the lowest price. And if you use our code, Eagles Chat, redeem that. Once you download the app for free, you get $20 off your purchase. We'll put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. So I want to circle back here to this question that we posed. Is Julio Jones washed? Because the numbers show that he is, and it was a fast decline for Julio Jones because his season-by-season averages from 2011 to 2020, we're talking about a decade-long sample size, were crazy. He was one of the best wide receivers in the game for a decade straight. And again, these are his per-season averages from 2011 to 2020. So every year, he was averaging 132 targets, little less than 85 catches, nearly 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, and an average yards per catch of 15.2. Those numbers are great, but when I talk about how quickly he has fallen off, his last 2 years, a far cry from what he did when he was starring with the Atlanta Falcons. He's played in a combined, the last 2 years, 15 games. He's only averaged 45.5 targets per season, 366.5 receiving yards, 1.5 touchdowns, and 13.3 yards per catch. All of the numbers in every single category have gone down, and some of the injuries have gone up. But why it makes sense for Philadelphia here, this is an experienced and accomplished player and a well-respected veteran who comes in the locker room and he can play right away because he can master an offense. Still has pretty good size at 6'3", and he's well over 200 pounds. And if Julio Jones can stay healthy, we are talking about a player who can be a solid wide receiver 3. If you like Zaccheaus, you like Watkins, and you want Julio Jones to be your wide receiver 4, he could certainly be an accomplished player as a wide receiver 4 or a wide receiver 3. Because either way, I do think it helps your depth a little bit at a position where right now you're hurting. The production is struggling a little bit, and this is basically going to cost you absolutely nothing. I imagine it's going to be worth the vet min. What is good news for Philadelphia is that their top 2 wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they formulate one of the top wide receiving duos in the National Football League. And A.J. Brown has really been on a hot streak over the last 4 games. This is arguably the best 4-game stretch for a wide receiver in Eagles franchise history. I know Donovan McNabb went on 94 WIP on Monday and said, I think the Eagles' offensive struggles started when A.J. Brown complained about his role. I actually highly disagree. I think A.J. Brown's been one of the only players on the offensive side of the football who's brought it. He's setting a standard, and he's dominating. I don't look at him wanting to be more involved in the offense and being vocal about that as hindering this offensive team. I look at bad play calling, bad play designs, and an inability to push the football into the end zone when you get into the red zone. And also for Jalen Hurts, he struggled a little bit as well. A.J. Brown wasn't the reason that Hurts threw those 2 bad picks in the second half, in particular in that fourth quarter against New York. But you look at A.J. Brown and what he's done, if he's able to stay healthy, this can continue. You get Devontae Smith starting to find his groove from a year ago in which he was sensational, and then A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Julio Jones, Olamide Zaccheaus, and Quez Watkins. That's a pretty good top 5 wide receiving group in the NFL. And speaking of AJ, he's very excited about teaming back up with Julio. He said big bruh after he quote tweeted a tweet earlier from the NFL announcing that Julio was headed to the city of brotherly love. When you dissect how the Eagles are faring on both sides of the ball, just imagine how much better this team could be if they figure out some of their offensive woes. Because even after that clunker against the New York Jets, the Eagles are still number 5 in the NFL in points per game at just under 26. You start converting in the red zone where you are operating at a 23 clip as far as 32 teams in the NFL, 45.5%, which means once you get in the red area, you're converting those trips into touchdowns at a 45% rate. You start scoring some touchdowns there, and this Eagles offense will become more difficult to beat. I think that Brian Johnson needs to do a better job in calling a game where Hurts isn't throwing it 45 times, having a little bit more of a running approach and a passing approach to even things out, to tap into the strengths of this football team, and hopefully Julio Jones is going to be able to help in that regard. Defensively, you look at how the Eagles are faring here. They're 16th in points per game, 9th in yards per game, 11th in yards per play, 25th in red zone efficiency. That's not good. And then touchdowns per game at 2.5. The Eagles right now, identical, which is usually the sign of an average team, at scoring touchdowns and giving up touchdowns. They did sign Josiah Scott to help in that secondary, and we'll round out there because Philadelphia is beaten up and they are battered in that secondary. And Howie Roseman made a move in that secondary today, signing a former Eagle, Josiah Scott, off the Steelers practice squad to the active roster for Philadelphia. If the name sounds familiar, that's because he is a familiar player. He was with the Eagles the last 2 years. He stepped in for Avonte Maddox at the end of last year when Maddox got injured. He played a little bit in that slot. He's a little bit small, so he could be taken advantage of when you pinpoint some of those mismatches from an offensive game planning standpoint. But a player who might not be familiar with Sean Desai's defense because it's different than Jonathan Gannon, but familiarity with this organization and the players on this team. If you're still here rocking with us, I want you to give me a real one down below in the chat because we appreciate you for being here for the entire duration of the show. And we're going live here in a little while on this Tuesday afternoon, so make sure you join us then as well. That is the latest on the Philadelphia Eagles signing wide receiver Julio Jones in NFL free agency. And that's how we kick off our live coverage here today. 154 people watching live, 34 likes. everybody who comes in here, please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and you like the video. Our guy, Adrian Hawthorne, certainly a real one. Lamont Lancaster, a real one as well. Recent commenter club, Millie315, Jinx, Arthur Porter, Trey, Clutch Dude, and the Doggy Duo. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. We are going to round out our live show in a couple of segments with a mailbag. So a couple of ways for you to get involved. Make sure you use the hashtag Eagles. Better yet, send in a super chat. Therefore, we can get you featured on the program here. Speaking of super chats, we had 2 come in, and all super chats do get a shout out on Eagles Now. And as you look at our super chat menu that we want to pile up here, a couple of really good items on here. All super chats get a shout out, as I talked about, $10 or more, or if you're a first-time super chatter, you're going to sign the Philadelphia Eagles hard hat, $20, an EAGLES champ. $50. How about those Philadelphia Phillies? We'll take down a beer bat for the Phils if you donate $50. And then if you send in $100 or more, you enter the exclusive club here on Eagles Now, and you become a member of the Bird's Nest Hall of Fame. Andrew Nathan with the $2 super chat. All I need for Julio, 4 to 6 catches for 60 to 67 yards a game. I don't even know if you need 60 to 67 yards per game. I even think a couple of catches here and there, quality depth, making some plays downfield. I think that's a benefit. And then Andrew Nathan with another one here. Maybe Julio Jones means Quez Watkins could be on his way soon. So I think a big reason why Philadelphia is bringing in Julio, and by the way, as I noted in the show, getting signed to the practice squad, not the active roster, but at some point soon in the future, I imagine that Julio is going to be elevated to the 53-man roster. They're doing this because Quez Watkins is out with that hamstring injury. He's on IR. So he's going to miss at least the next 3 games after missing that New York Jets game. Another reminder, hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat to literally ask us anything. We're really getting it humming here on Eagles Now Live on this beautiful Tuesday. It's been a busy day here on the show. Woke up this morning, did a show from the at-home studio on Lane Johnson. Could play against the Miami Dolphins. Julio Jones gets signed. We put out a video a little bit earlier, and now we are live. As for what we're going to get into next here on the show, some players that the Philadelphia Eagles could trade. I need a favor, though. I need all of you watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We have 170 people watching live, only 48 likes. The more likes that we get, the more people who come in here, the crazier that the show will get. So everybody watching right now who hasn't liked the video, please do that, and we'll talk about these trade candidates right now for Philadelphia. All right, let's get it. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Today's show is sponsored by RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. We'll tell you more about what RexMD has to offer. We'll put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. It's rexmd.com/chat. As for what we're talking about on today's show, according to reports, Howie Roseman spent Monday looking for some defensive back help. So could a big move be on the way to bolster this Philadelphia Eagles secondary? We're going to take a look at all of that and also dissect some secondary trade targets for the Eagles. So could a trade be coming? Let's start there. According to some reports from the Philadelphia Inquirer, other outlets, Howie Roseman and the Birds spent Monday looking into secondary help, canvassing the market, seeing what players are out there, seeing what would it take for the Eagles to fortify that unit on the back end, which right now is very, very injured. And Howie's history, he's oftentimes been aggressive in the lead up to the NFL trade deadline. He's been aggressive in his entire career as a football executive. He has made trade deadline moves in 5 of the last 6 seasons. So if Howie believes that there is a move out there that he can make to improve this football team more times than not, and in 5 of the last 6 years, he makes that move. And there's been so much injury misfortune for Philadelphia through 6 games this year as the Birds are sitting at 5-1, coming off that loss last week to the New York Jets. Every week 1 defensive back has missed at least 1 game this year. Avonte Maddox and Justin Evans are on injured reserve. Zech McPherson in the NFL preseason tore his Achilles, so he's already out for the year. So already you can see that this secondary has gotten crushed by injuries, and then even more injury woes. Philadelphia and Sean Desai have had no continuity in the secondary. 6 different starting secondaries in 6 games. Sean Desai has had to play 15 different defensive backs. 6 corners or safeties have made their NFL debut in an Eagles uniform this year, and it doesn't come at a good time to be banged up because the number 1 offense in the National Football League in the Miami Dolphins is coming to Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday Night Football. And you look at the Eagles injury report here. Look at how many players are on the defensive side of the football. Look at how many players are in that secondary. Reed Blankenship, x-rays negative on his ribs. That's good. There's hope that Darius Slay, coming off that knee injury that forced him to miss that game against the Jets, will be able to play on Sunday night. And that vaunted passing attack for Miami, led by Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. Avonte Maddox, we know about him. Jalen Carter. Lane Johnson, expectation he could play too against Miami. Best right tackle in the game. Cam Jurgens still on IR. Quez Watkins just went on IR in the lead up to that Jets matchup. Justin Evans, Sidney Brown, Eli Ricks, all in that secondary, all injured as well. That report that I mentioned earlier, or at least one of them, came from Josh Tolentino of the Philadelphia Inquirer, and according to his sources, he said that General Manager Howie Roseman and his staff spent that Monday scouring the rest of the league for external assistance in the secondary, according to league sources. And Nick Sirianni knows it's a problem. Nick Sirianni is cognizant of the fact that there have been a lot of injuries on that back end, and he knows that he's working with the general manager, who's basically his boss, who, quote, as Nick Sirianni said, is always working to improve the team's personnel. Good news could be on the way on the injury front, though, in that secondary. There is hope that Darius Slay, coming off that knee injury, as well as Sidney Brown, who has missed the last 2 games with that hamstring injury, could both return this week. Now, before we continue to keep it moving on today's show, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And this is why you subscribe, because whenever the Eagles make a move, we'll break it down here on the program. We are approaching 58,000 subscribers. So if you want daily shows on the Eagles that are all insightful, informative, and entertaining, allowing you to learn about the game of football, learn about the Eagles and the rest of the NFL, this is your go-to spot. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to talk about those secondary trade targets that Philadelphia can trade for to really improve their Super Bowl chances. And we're going to talk about some cornerbacks as well as some safeties. First, though, I mentioned off the top of the program today that Eagles Now is sponsored by RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. You can see for yourself at rexmd.com/chat. Same treatments, free consultation, and fastest delivery. We've gotten so much great feedback from those of you who have hit that link for RexMD to see what that deal has to offer, because fellas, sometimes you lack confidence in the bedroom, and sometimes you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life. Well, you're not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With only a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made right here in the USA. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and get up to 95% off with RexMD, as well as a free gift with our exclusive link. That's rexmd.com/chat. We're going to put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. It's up to 95% off and a free gift at rexmd.com/chat. We appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. So without further ado, want to talk about some of these secondary trade targets for Philadelphia. But despite the Eagles' injuries, I actually think that the Eagles have played solid on the defensive side of the football. And that's why I think the arrow is still pointing up for this football team, even after that loss to the New York Jets. Because if they get healthy, when they get healthy, and if they make some moves, I think this team is a team to be reckoned with. in the NFC and across the entire NFL. It starts with a big test on Sunday night against Miami, of course. But you look at how both sides of the ball are faring for Philadelphia offensively, despite their struggles, number 5 in points per game. And then you look at the defense. Keep in mind that this is the first year that Sean Desai is a full-time play caller in this league, and the Eagles have had 6 different starting combinations in the secondary in all 6 games. Yet, they're still only giving up less than 3 touchdowns per game at 20.7 points per game. They're number 9 in yards allowed, number 11 in yards per play. Red zone numbers can get a little bit better, and they're giving up those 2.5 touchdowns per game, which ranks number 19th in the NFL. So if you get a little bit healthier and you bring in a stud cornerback, we're talking about a weakness turned into a strength, and hopefully those defensive numbers for the Eagles do increase. I do think it's an offensive league, and I think that the Eagles' wins and losses at the end of the day will come down to how the offense is faring. But don't trip. I actually think the Eagles' defense has played pretty solid up to this point. An issue here, and this is for the offense, this is for the defense, the Eagles are 17th in turnover margin. So offensively, they're turning the ball over a ton, especially as compared to last year. And defensively, they're forcing some turnovers, but because the offense is turning the football over so often and so much, they're middle of the pack in turnover margin. Last year, that skewed toward Philadelphia in a positive way. Those secondary trade targets. Let's first begin with Jeremy Chinn, who's a nickel corner, slot corner, safety hybrid of the Carolina Panthers. According to Cam Marino, who's an NFL insider, he took to Twitter to report this last week that with belief that the Carolina Panthers will look to sell at the trade deadline, Philadelphia Eagles are expected to inquire about the availability of Panthers safety Jeremy Chinn. This is a player who a lot of fans wanted the Eagles to draft a few years ago as he's in the final year of his rookie contract out of Southern Illinois. And this year, in 6 games, he has 1 pass breakup, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 quarterback hit. I think a reason why Carolina might move on, final year of his contract, they are also winless up to this point, most recently losing to the Miami Dolphins, the same team coming to South Philly on Sunday night. And if they're going to sell, this is a good player to sell with that could get you back some good value. Now let's go to Foxborough, and let's talk about Kyle Duggar, who's a very similar player to Jeremy Chinn, and a very similar circumstance. Involves Duggar as compared to Jeremy Chinn as well, because Duggar, final year of his rookie contract, like Jeremy Chinn, a former second-round pick, and like Jeremy Chinn, he could play safety. He can also play slot nickel as well. And Bill Belichick seems to be losing it a little bit. I'm not sure if the Patriots are tanking for Caleb Williams, but that is a bad, bad football team. And if they don't think that they're going to re-sign their former second-round pick in Kyle Duggar, are they going to look to trade him away if they start this little bit of a rebuilding phase? And Duggar is a player who is solid. I like his versatility. I like his game. I like his toughness. And he checks out pretty well with the Pro Football Focus grades. Overall grade of 71.5. Run defense grade of 84.2. So he can play and play well in the box. 69.3 on the pass rush. I don't really care about that. In coverage, 61. So he could struggle a little bit. League average, according to PFF, is 70, but 61 isn't like horrendous. And then he has 2 pass breakups as well. Probably the best cornerback on this list that we're going to talk about is Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears. A lot of quality teams across the NFL are jockeying in hopes that they can land Jalen Johnson. He's an excellent player. Really good instincts. Stands about 6 feet. 6'1". I like his length. I like his athleticism as well as his size. And with his Pro Football Focus grades, he has been outstanding and a bright spot on an otherwise awful Chicago Bears team. Overall PFF grade of 79 for him. A great and elite coverage grade of 80.9, and he's only allowed a passer rating when targeted of 64.6. That's a game changer who might require a first or second round pick that Howie Roseman might have to give up in order to bring in a player of that caliber. Kareem Jackson is a player that I really like. He's been in the league for a long time. He's a veteran. We did talk about Justin Simmons, the other safety for the Denver Broncos last week. That video is up on the channel if you want to look at that. Justin Simmons seems like a perfect Eagle, team captain, all-pro, Pro Bowler, tied with C.J. Gardner-Johnson last year for the NFL high in interceptions. But Kareem Jackson, one of the other players in that secondary who could also be dealt. And then Patrick Surtain. This is the cream of the crop. You can make the argument that he's better than Jalen Johnson, but this year I think that Jalen Johnson is having a better year than Patrick Surtain. More name value with Surtain, but you look at how his Pro Football Focus numbers compare to a player like Jalen Johnson, they're not the same, and both of these teams are awful. Both of those teams have defenses that have really struggled. So I think that my argument for Jalen Johnson being better this year does hold some weight. Overall grade for Surtain of 70.5. Run defense grade, 80.6, although oftentimes you want him on an island, one-on-one against a top-tier wide receiver. Pass rush grade of 75.2. You'll take it, right, if you can put him in there on some blitz packages. A coverage grade, though, of only 66.1 as compared to the 80 for Jalen Johnson. Passer rating allowed about 20 points higher than Johnson as well at 87.7. I do think this is a little bit of a byproduct of the Broncos just being a mess. And it's kind of wild to think that even though Denver beat Chicago a couple of weeks ago, they could be more of a mess than the Chicago Bears. So with that, we tee up this poll question. Who is your dream Eagles trade candidate? Any of the players that we talked about on the show or another player out there? Just drop me a name down below in the comment section right now. All right, 2 segments down. It's good to see everybody hanging out here with us. We can't get to our next segment until we get to 200 likes. We're only at 71 right now with more than 200 watching live. So make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. Andrew Nathan saying Asante Samuel Jr. We talked about him last week as well. Brian throwing in Budda Baker. Punjab saying Patrick Surtain. Sizzle saying Budda Baker as well. Jayquest Derrick Henry. I don't think Derrick Henry is the player that the Eagles are going to trade for. I'm cool with the running back rotation here. How about you just run him a little bit more? Waffle Crusher, my boy Chase, my boy Waffle Crusher, Ryan Rowe, Budda Baker, Andrew Thompson, Budda Baker, Jared, Jalen Johnson, Robert saying Kevin Byard. He did recently sign an extension with the Tennessee Titans, but an interesting name for sure. Good job by Millie315 for getting that question in. You see what Millie315 did? Be like Millie. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat because after this upcoming segment, we'll answer your questions with a mailbag. Young Deku, Justin Simmons, hopefully you liked the show last week in which we talked about him, and then Punjab saying Jeremy Chin. So we're 15 likes away from 100. Who has liked the video? I want you to type me right now. And if you haven't, support the program by hitting that thumbs up icon. Bird Gang Eagles doing a good job of using hashtag Eagles as well. 14 likes away from 100. Let's get it. Lamont Lancaster, thank you. Kane Angel, Punjab, Waffle Crusher, Charles Redding, Jared, all typing me right now. And all of these people who are typing me. Certainly some real ones. Eagle Goat 88, Ryan Rowe, Bird Gang Eagles, Andrew Thompson, all saying me. Robert Alessandrini? Hopefully I got that right the first or second time. John Blatz, Brian Bidding, Eric Green, Navek, DeAdrian Hawthorne. Good stuff. We're 7 likes away from 200.
Let's go.
Or 100 likes, excuse me. And once we get there, we're going to keep it 100. And I'm going to break down how the Philadelphia Eagles can fix Jalen Hurts. Struggling up to this point, but how can he get back on track? We'll show you, and we'll talk about it coming up.
Don't you want to hear some more Eagles news? Don't you want to find out how we can fix Jalen Hurts?
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Erica Jones using hashtag Eagles Chip. Let's show them the super chat menu here. 5 likes away from 200, and then we'll talk about how the Eagles can fix Jalen Hurts. First, though, here's our super chat menu. All super chats get a shout out. $10 or more, you sign the Eagles hard hat. $20, we'll do the Eagles chant, or no one likes us, we don't care, whatever you want. $50, I'm waiting to drink this. Beer bat for the Phils. 1-0 series lead over the D-backs in the NLCS. Let's take this down, and if we do, that means the Eagles are going to win on Sunday, and the Phillies are going to win tonight as well. And then $100 or more, Birds Nest Hall of Fame. One like away from 100.
There's
Who's
someone
going to
out
get
there.
us to the century mark?
There's someone out there.
Who's
There's
going
actually
to get us to the century mark?
100 of y'all that haven't liked.
Peter Jean Baptist saying PS2. Jay Truth, we need Simmons or Surtain. We got to 100 likes. All right, coming up next here, live on Eagles Now, how the Eagles can fix Jalen Hurts. Really looking forward to breaking this down because I think it's going to be an insightful segment for all of you. Chip, you ready to rock? Are our viewers ready to rock as well? I'm ready to rock. I think you all are as well. Jared putting in the MV3 for Bryce Harper. Let's move on to our next segment right now. How can the Philadelphia Eagles fix Jalen Hurts and get him back on track to the point where he's playing in 2023 like he did last year? That's what we're talking about on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. You look at how Jalen Hurts has fared in the first 6 games this year, and I think that the eye test has looked a little bit worse than how he's actually played, especially when you compare his numbers this year to last year, which we'll show you coming up here in just a moment. Completion percentage, pretty solid at 66.2. He is top 10 in total passing yards across the NFL among all NFL quarterbacks at 1,542. The issue is the decision-making, him putting the ball in harm's way, and Jalen Hurts turning the football over, because through 6 games, Hurts only has 7 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and the running numbers, not bad compared to last year, 253 with 5 rushing touchdowns, a lot of those thanks to the brotherly shove, which, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys attempted on Monday night, and they got stuffed by the Los Angeles Chargers. So, you look at those numbers that Hurts has put up in his first 6 games, and it feels like Hurts has been so much worse this year as compared to last year. Actually, though, the numbers are very similar. I just think that last year, Jalen Hurts was a lot more efficient. So let's compare last year to this year. 2022, first 6 games played, completion percentage, 66.8. This year, it's only down by 0.8 percentage points, 66.2. Are you shocked to see that Jalen Hurts has actually thrown for more passing yards this year? 1,542 compared to 1,514. Again, the issue here is that Hurts up to this point a year ago, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. That number is the same, and the rushing numbers just slightly different at 293 and 255. But again, things have just felt harder. The offense has been a little bit more clunky, and I think that this Eagles offense hasn't been the same as far as points per game overall because of their struggles partially in the red zone. So with that, this is today's poll question, and I want to hear from everybody watching the show right now. Be honest with me. Your honest assessments. How would you grade Jalen Hurts this season through 6 games with the Eagles at 5-1 with what you've seen? A, B, C, D, or F, you chime in. As for the passing yards leaders, you can't tell me that Jalen Hurts has been an awful quarterback this year, because currently he's 7th among all quarterbacks in passing yards. And he's about 300 behind the leader in Tua Tagovailoa, who we'll be able to see for our watch party on Sunday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. Tua has thrown for 1,800 plus yards. After him, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, C.J. Stroud, Jared Goff, who's really put together a good end of the season last year going into this year. Patrick Mahomes only, 41 yards ahead of Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen right on par with what Hurts has been able to do through the air. And then Sam Howell, Trevor Lawrence, maybe a couple of surprising names to some people, filling out that list at 9 and 10. So I want to shift to this now. And this is really the purpose of today's show. How can the Philadelphia Eagles fix Jalen Hurts? We have a 5-step plan that we're going to go through on today's show, so sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Number 1, I think Philadelphia has to have a more balanced offense. And I think that talking point has gained more momentum after that Jets loss with how bad Jalen Hurts played at the end. It's a shame because in the first 3 quarters, he was carrying Philadelphia, and then he unraveled in that 4th quarter. You look at the numbers against the Jets. Jalen Hurts had 45 pass attempts, second most of his entire NFL career. He was sacked twice, so that's 47 pass plays in total. The Eagles only ran it 22 times. 14 of those were handoffs to the running back. And now, in Jalen Hurts' career, when he has to attempt 40-plus passes, the Philadelphia Eagles are 0-4. So that, for this coaching staff, is not knowing your roster. And history shows that when Hurts has to drop back and throw it 40-plus times, and you skew more heavily toward throwing the football as compared to running it, you're not the same team. And you're not as successful, you're not as efficient. And I love Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, but I'm not sure he's a quarterback who I want to drop back all that much, 40-plus times, considering the personnel on this team, with a good running back room, a really good offensive line, and an offensive line that likes to take your souls by beating you up throughout the course of a 60-minute game, and they're able to establish momentum, confidence themselves by running the football and getting downhill. And I tweeted this out on X, hated the Eagles' game plan. And I mean, I absolutely hated it against the New York Jets. While Jalen Hurts is a special player, you just don't want him throwing 45 times when the Eagles have an offensive line like they have and a running game that they do. And I think that this year so far, and this has been a big reason why Hurts has struggled, the coaching staff has let Jalen Hurts down. And that's on Nick Sirianni as well as Brian Johnson. Number 2, how can we fix Jalen Hurts? Philadelphia just has to do a better job finishing in the red zone. And this all comes down to play calling. This comes down to play design. This comes down to execution, where Hurts can be a little bit better. But Devontae Smith last week, we talked about his lack of red zone targets and the lack of red zone targets for Dallas Goedert. Finally, they got DeAndre Swift more involved in that red zone offense. And what happened? They scored a touchdown on that little pass play in which he absorbed the contact from Jalen Hurts on that pass. So finishing in the red zone is key, because look at how this Eagles offense has fared throughout the first 6 games. They've struggled on the offensive side of the ball, yet they're number 5 in the NFL in points per contest at 25.8. They're number 2 in yards per game, number 9 in yards per play, number 9 in touchdowns scored per game. But the big discrepancy and the big glaring hole, once they get inside the 20-yard line, this has literally been a problem all year long. And this is why Jason Kelce blew up on the sideline. And against the Jets, they once again struggle in that red area. When they get inside the 20, they're only scoring a touchdown 45.5% of the time. That's number 23 in the NFL. So if they finish maybe just one more red zone trip per game, the Eagles then go from averaging like 25.8 points per game past 30. And then you look at the points per game that they're giving up defensively at 20.7, they're going to be able to win a lot of games in this league. Number 3, I'd love to see the Eagles get Devontae Smith going. Outside of week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings, he's been held in check. And I know that the Eagles are prioritizing getting A.J. Brown the ball. And A.J. Brown is number 2 in the NFL in receiving yards this year. He looks dominant. And it's great that you have a player like that. But I actually think that Hurts can benefit, and the offense will be better if there's more of a spread out attack. Because you look at what Smith has done in the first 6 weeks this year. Week 1, 10 targets, 7 catches, 47 yards, and that touchdown on a really nice ball from Jalen Hurts. Week 2, 5 targets, 4 catches, 131 yards after he broke out against Minnesota. That long pass from Hurts was vintage from what we saw in 2022. But then from that point on, Smith has kind of been absent to a certain degree. Week 3, 5 targets, 4 catches, 28 yards, no touchdowns. Week 4, 9 targets, 7 catches, 78 yards. But then the last 2 weeks, 5 targets, 1 catch for 6, and then 11 targets, 5 catches for 44. Now the last 2 weeks, they've targeted him a decent amount, like 11 targets against the Jets. That's cool. And he dropped a couple of those balls. And he even admitted, nothing to correct. Just catch the damn football. I love how honest he was. But how about a bubble screen? How about an end around? Find a way easily to get him involved, which I think can really benefit this offense. Speaking of Sunday night against the Miami Dolphins, we've been talking about it all week. Preview coming up this week on the show as well. Make sure you look at the channel for that. We're going to be doing another watch party for Sunday Night Football. Eagles playing host to the Miami Dolphins. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and join us. It's the best place to experience game day outside of being at the actual game. Last week against the Jets, we put up historic numbers right here on the channel once more. And you look ahead, Week 7 betting odds. Philadelphia opened as 2-point favorites. Some money coming in on the Miami Dolphins. It's now going down to 1.5. Over-under set at 44. It's a little bit lower than what I thought because I think both of these offenses are really explosive. This, to me, feels like a game where Tua Tagovailoa, I know the Eagles secondary is banged up, comes into Philadelphia, and he really struggles, and the Eagles find a way to will themselves to a victory. I'm thinking about betting on the Birds to win, and I'm going to do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You should sign up because you're going to get a monster deposit bonus if you go to chatsports.com/EaglesBet with the promo code Eagles125. You put in $100, you get $125 back. That's $225 to game with. Number 4, what has to get better? Play designs and play calling. This is another area that Nick Sirianni has acknowledged this year, and it's another area that has not been good enough. And I think Philadelphia is really missing Shane Steichen here in 2023, like the Eagles missed Frank Reich in 2018 when there was a noticeable change and drop-off in that Eagles offense. Here's what Nick Sirianni had to say about the lack of offensive production and the overall problems that are occurring with this unit. So there are some detailed things there, he said. When we talk about a design of a play, I'm always going to take the brunt of that, hey, this design wasn't good enough. There definitely were a couple of those that the design, I'm like, I didn't really like the design of this play right here. To me, when that is the case, that's 100% on me. And then as you look at it, it's going to be hard to sustain drives, score points when you turn the ball over. The turnovers, it was all something different, each one of them. It wasn't all on one guy. Jalen gets 3 interceptions to his name, but they're not all on him. And it'll help if you don't turn the football over 4 times against a very good defense like the New York Jets. And then lastly, look, in order for Jalen Hurts to get fixed, he has to fix how he's playing. He'd be the first one to say that he is playing at a substandard level, given the expectations that he gives himself. Hurts just has to play better. That's really what it comes down to. You can't make the wrong read late in the fourth quarter when you have an opportunity at a game-winning drive. Then you get another drive after the Jets scored that touchdown to potentially win the game. And you couldn't do anything there as well. I thought the read to Devontae Smith on that long ball, it was too late. It's almost as if he thought pressure was coming, pressure didn't come, but then he was kind of fading away from his throwing arm and just chucked it up there. If you put his foot in the dirt and made that strike right when Smitty was starting to break in, he could have found him, but because he waited, that allowed another defender to get downfield to bat that ball away. Now, if you believe in Jalen Hurts, I do. I believe in the person. I believe in the player. I believe in the character. I believe in the leader. I'm going to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Are you with me? Show me by liking the video. All right, that's our guide for how to fix Jalen Hurts. And hopefully those changes start to happen soon. And let's also be real, right? Philadelphia Eagles, they were playing better offensively in the weeks leading up to that Jets loss. Couple of super chats coming in. Lion Fighter. Eagles OC Brian Johnson is cheeks. He literally got his job from his history with Hurts. He never should have been named OC. Should have brought in someone from outside of the organization. This is our issue. I'm going to expand on that in our mailbag coming up because I do have some thoughts. And then Emmanuel Henderson, $20 super chat. How does the Eagles defense attack Miami's high-speed offense? We'll also talk about that coming up here in our mailbag as well. Because you sent in a 20, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second.
Make sure to get those questions in right now. Hashtag Eagles. I've seen a lot of you using it. Good job. Good job today. Good job today. We'll get a lot of your question answered today.
People are bringing the heat. They're participating. That's what you like to see. Fine Wine Fletch. I know a Niner fan ain't laughing at a Jets loss when y'all lost to the Browns right before. You know what's funny? I was on the call for both games. Both games were eerily similar. And I think that the Niners and Eagles and the Dolphins, top 3 teams in the NFL right now, Kansas City Chiefs, maybe up there too, ahead of those squads because they're playing really good ball right now. But the Eagles loss and the Niners loss, very similar. Sloppy, turning the football over, and they got punched in the face by some formidable defenses. Very, very similar. A lot of good questions that have come in so far, and we'll answer your questions next for our mailbag. Live on the San Francisco 49ers Report. If anybody sends in that $50 super chat, we're doing this beer bat for a Philadelphia Phillies win. Game 2 of the NLCS tonight with Aaron Nola on the hill. So $50 super chat, we'll get it popping. Plenty of questions that came in. You love to see it. So we'll round out our 4-segment show with a mailbag. You getting this content anywhere else? I do not think so. Brian said scary similar. Exactly. It's all rigged anyways. Chiefs will win again from Lion Fighter. It's crazy how they get some calls that go their way. Fine Wine Fletch, you got some good wines that you can send us? I'm down to be a wine connoisseur. I'm down to sip some wine. That'd be fun. A little cigar with that too. I'm down with it. I'm down with it. All right. Mailbag coming up next. That's how we'll round out our live coverage. And if you want us to hang out for Eagles Now Happy Hour, that'll be up to you. Another loaded show on the docket for today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. But first, today's sponsor is RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. You can get up to 95% off and a free gift by going to rexmd.com/chat. Before we start to dive into today's show, make sure you join us for our Sunday Night Football watch party against the Miami Dolphins. After Philadelphia's loss to the New York Jets, this game becomes really important for the Eagles. They're banged up in that secondary, and the #1 offense is coming to town. But I'll tell you this, Eagles fans are going to be tailgating all day. It's going to be an incredible environment at Lincoln Financial Field, and I don't think Tua Tagovailoa has seen anything like the environment that he's going to see at the Link on Sunday. Can't wait for it. Hang out with us. It'll be the best place to be outside of being at the actual game. Want to start off today's show with this super chat coming in from Andrew Nathan. He said maybe Julio Jones means that Quez Watkins could be on his way out soon. Quez Watkins was placed on IR right before that Jets game, so he has to miss a minimum of 4 games because he's going on injured reserve. Maybe bringing in Julio means that they want to see what he can do while Quez is out to see if Julio can be wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. And if they're impressed with Julio, Quez Watkins, final year of his contract, do they try to trade him in the lead up to the NFL trade deadline to a team that is looking for a speedy wide receiver? Lion Fighter with the 10. Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson is cheeks. He literally got his job from his history with Jalen Hurts. He never should have been named OC. Should have brought in someone from outside of the organization. This is our issue. Now, Brian Johnson actually does have a pretty credible resume. He had a really good playing career at Utah. He became the youngest offensive coordinator in college football once his professional playing career ended. He put together a pretty good coaching career coaching Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, Kyle Trask at Florida. He put up some big numbers there. And then with Philadelphia, he's been Jalen Hurts' quarterback coach since Nick Sirianni came to town. Now, he does have that relationship with Hurts and his father because Brian Johnson played for Hurts' dad when Brian Johnson was in high school. That, of course, has something to do with it. And I think familiarity is important for an OC and his relationship with the quarterback. So, look, when the Eagles hired Brian Johnson, he was the name for Philadelphia. And he was the guy who everybody wanted Philadelphia to hire to replace Shane Steichen. And I think that offensive continuity is really important. I also think we're forgetting how valuable and how much of a quality coach Shane Steichen is and was for this team. When he was with Justin Herbert, Herbert's rookie year, Herbert set records. And then he comes to the Eagles. Look at the growth from Hurts where he went from 52% completion percentage year one under Doug Peterson to 67 in year three, runner-up for MVP. He was doing some good stuff with Anthony Richardson. They're winning games right now with Gardner Minshew. The feel for the game, the play design, the play calling in moments, especially in crunch time, in the red zone, there's a feel that is required there. And Brian Johnson has not had that same feel. I'm not ready to give up on him yet because when he did get hired, a lot of NFL insiders were saying Brian Johnson, a name to look out for, could be one of those Eagles assistants in the future who gets a head coaching job. Right now, though, yeah, he's been subpar. Emmanuel Henderson, $20 super chat. How does the Eagles defense attack Miami's high-speed offense? The Eagles pass rush is going to be absolutely critical in this matchup against Miami. If Tua Tagovailoa has all day to throw with the weapons and the speed that they have on the offensive side of the football, it's going to be a long day, and it's going to be a track day, a track meet. Because if Tua has time to survey the field, he could pick you apart. And I know I've never been a huge Tua Tagovailoa guy, but this year he's thrown with timing, anticipation. He's been really accurate. But when he gets pressured, you can see it. He's not the same quarterback. His feet beneath him get a little bit shaky, and he's prone to throwing some interceptions and giving the ball up, whether it be a fumble, whether it be an interception, when he is under duress. Another big thing is that Miami can run the heck out of the football. Mike McDaniel, their head coach, is a Kyle Shanahan protege, as part of that Shanahan tree. They do a bunch of creative stuff with pre-snap motion, gave the Eagles defense in the Super Bowl last year a lot of trouble on that Sky Moore touchdown, the Kadarius Toney touchdown. So he's going to get creative with all that pre-snap motion. Philadelphia hasn't communicated that well all that often, and that helps the Dolphins scheme open splash plays through the ground, in the air, and that's really what you have to account for if you're Sean Desai in this Eagles defense. Like, everything has to be on the table because Mike McDaniel has a whole bag of tricks. A lot more to get to on today's show, but as I mentioned off the top, RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. Sign up today at rexmd.com/chat. Same treatments, free consultation, and a faster delivery. Fellas, let's be honest, right? Do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life? You're not alone out here. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness, and hopefully we can help you out in the process. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With only a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and all of their medication is made right here in the beautiful USA. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat. Start your consultation today and take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and get up to 95% off and a free gift only by using our exclusive link. Once again, up to 95% off and a free gift at rexmd.com/chat, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. It's telehealth for men. We'll put that link in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. Ryan Rowe, can we get Jeremy Chin or Simmons and secondary to bolster that up, improve the red zone, stay healthy, force turnovers, and to improve the pass coverage? So I think that Jeremy Chin is definitely an option. According to some reports out there, the Eagles are expected to look into Jeremy Chin. I'm not sure which Simmons you're talking about. I think it's Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos. Really like him as a safety, team captain with Denver, former Pro Bowler, All-Pro player, tied for the NFL league high in interceptions last year with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Very good player who I think if you pair him up with Reed Blankenship, you address a weakness in a really, really big way. Millie315, future topic. We're going to need to draft secondary and offensive line high in the draft. The good news here, Millie, is that the Eagles have a lot of draft picks in 2024. And I want to take a look at those right now because currently the Eagles are projected to have 10 picks in the 2024 draft. Those picks right now, they have their own first-round pick. They have their own second-round pick. They have a pick from the Saints in the second round, a projected compensatory pick in the third, another one in the fourth, a fifth-round pick from Minnesota, fifth-round pick from the Bucs, compensatory picks in the fifth and sixth rounds, and then in the sixth, the Eagles have their own pick or the Titans' sixth-round pick, whichever is better. So that is plenty of draft ammunition to target secondary, to target offensive line. I know that in the preseason, we were talking about some of the young players in that secondary, Eli Ricks, Josh Jobe, Mario Goodrich, who was let go on Tuesday by Philadelphia, Keely Ringo. You do have some young players who you can continue to groom, but if you want to use a first-round pick on a top-tier stud cornerback and kind of do what you did this past year in being a good team, but drafting for need and best player available and taking Jalen Carter as well as Nolan Smith, you could do that in the secondary. What's crazy is that the Eagles have not drafted a corner in the first round since Lito Shepherd out of Florida in the early 2000s. Bird Gang Eagles, do you think the Eagles can beat the Dolphins even though we had a bad week? I certainly think that the Eagles can beat the Dolphins. And I think about my entire lifetime as an Eagles fan, I have seen this story before, where the Eagles come off a lackluster, subpar, disappointing, and frustrating week, and there's a team coming into town the following week that's really good, that a lot of people expect is going to beat Philadelphia, and then the Eagles' defense just comes to play, and they roar as far as sacks go. Like, I remember, growing up, like Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Tom Brady being flustered by this Eagles defense, and especially when those quarterbacks have to play at Lincoln Financial Field, it's a difficult environment. And I don't think that Tua Tagovailoa has faced anything like that. And I could see this Eagles defensive line just wreaking havoc all throughout the day and getting that dub on Sunday Night Football. Speaking of that game, what are your predictions for it? Who you got? MIA for the Miami Dolphins, PHI for the Eagles. Hopefully that Dolphins offense will be MIA. Erica Jones. Hi, Chase. Tad depressed about losing. It was brutal to watch, but I know our birds will come back. What's the first thing we need to work on to come back better next time? The easiest thing to work on, the easiest thing to clean up, not turning the damn football over 4 times. The fact that the Eagles turned it over that many times and still had an opportunity to win and still should have won tells you all that you need to know. That's the biggest New York Jets regular season win in years. And it's unfortunate because I thought that the Eagles spoiled what was a very fine defensive effort where Hassan Reddick finally broke out, Josh Sweat making a name for himself on the pressures leaderboard this year across all edge rushers in the NFL. So you clean up those turnovers. That's what you have to do. And let's be honest. Did anybody coming off a Super Bowl expect the Eagles to be 5-1 6 weeks into the year? Not many. And you would have taken this start even if you thought they were going to go undefeated. Here they are in a good position and they can control their own destiny. Jared, Brian Johnson needs to be better, as well as the execution from Jalen Hurts. Both can be true, right? Both can be true. And I think that Brian Johnson can do better with play calling, especially situationally, especially on some of those money downs, 3rd and 4th down, and then especially in the red zone too. That's really, really cost the Eagles so far this year. And then on that same message there, Jared, like Jalen Hurts can be better too. Can't throw that pick late. Not your typical Leo 42. I want to really see what Nolan Smith can do. His energy should really move mountains. Nakobe Dean needs to get out of his head and ball the F out. Nakobe Dean, it was good to see him back on the field against New York. I thought he made a couple of solid plays. As for Nolan Smith, Derek Barnett has no sacks this year, and he's had about 20 more pass rush snaps compared to Nolan Smith. I say at this point, you know what Derek Barnett is? Tap into the potential of Nolan Smith and give him those pass rushing opportunities that you're giving Derek Barnett and see what he can do, because I guarantee you he's going to be able to give you a little bit more than the nothing burger you've gotten from Derek Barnett. Could you see us signing Frank Clark or D Ford? We need some defensive line help as well as giving Derek Barnett not playing that great. D Ford is cooked. I mean, he's had a neck injury the last couple of years where his medicals have gotten flagged. Frank Clark, I think he's going back to the Kansas City Chiefs. Who needs to step up for the Eagles against Miami? Is it Brian Johnson? Is it Jalen Hurts? It's your opportunity to be a part of the show once more and share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section. Bird Gang Tommy saying, go Birds. Who else we got? Miguel Gonzalez. Brian saying 100, Chase. F. Barnett. Class act, Chase. Andrew Nathan. I always try to be a class act. For those of you who haven't subscribed, make sure you do so down below. It's youtube.com/Eagles Now. Who wants us to hang out for a bit? Who wants to hang out with me and Chip?
It's happy hour.
It's Eagles Now happy hour, and I have this Philadelphia Phillies beer bat that I'm ready to drink that's getting warm at this point. If you want us to hang out for a bit, type me. Brian already did it. Andrew Nathan said, let's hang out, chat. Hey, we're down, but here's the deal. Keep us live with some super chats. We're going to start the 2-minute shot clock here. Anytime we get a super chat, we reset the clock. Here's our super chat menu. All supers get on the show. $10 or more, your name goes on the hard hat. Or if you're a first-time super chatter, your initials go on the hard hat as well. $20, we'll give you the EAGLES chant. $50, beer bat for the Phils. Can we get there? Let's get the good vibes going before the Phils take on the Diamondbacks Game 2 of the NLCS. And if anybody out there wants to send in $100, you enter the Bird's Nest Hall of Fame, like our guy Paul, like our guy Elijah, a couple of others also entering that equation. Flipping the Bird 85, that is our super chat menu. Bird Gang Tommy, give him some Rex MD. Give me some Rex MD, I might lift up this table. I don't know if we want that to happen. We have to pay to play from Brian. Brian said Phillies tailgate. I like that. Not your typical Leo wants us to hang out. I really want to do this beer bat. How about this? We're 17 away from 50. How about we just get the 50 in total, and I'll drink the beer bat. We don't have to do the beer bat for the Phils. 120 on the super chat shot clock. Keep us live. Keep us live.
Come on.
All it takes is a 20, and we're doing the beer bat for the Phils.
Light work.
90 seconds in.
And we'll give you the Eagles chant.
And we'll give you the Eagles chant. Hell yeah. And the Liberty Bell. 143.
Tick, tick, tick,
Tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick,
tick, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick.
Andrew Nathan wants to hang out. Come on.
We're coming down to the wire. We're coming down to the wire. We'll give you about a 20-second delay. If not, Chip and I actually have to do some work. We don't want to have to do that. We want to hang out with the Bird Gang. Hey, if you're saving for Sunday Night Football, that's cool too.
Gonna be a big one.
Bird Gang Tommy. Brian said, let's go into work. Reich Lee. How did the Eagles get Julio? Was he a free agent? Yeah, he was a free agent. Hadn't signed with the team. He was available. Eagles signed him to the practice squad, and then we'll see if they elevate him to the active roster.
Something I saw, where did this go? Very interesting. I didn't even think about this. It's Hurts versus Tua. Alabama guys. Hurts.
Yeah.
It was Tua replacing Hurts.
Yep.
In that championship.
Yeah, in the Natty. To beat Georgia.
Right.
That's when Tua came in and threw that ball down that far sideline.
Yep.
For the dub. All right, we're going to sign off. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to our live show on this fantastic and fine Tuesday. We recapped Julio Jones signing with the Eagles already, so if you didn't catch that video or that part of the live show today, it's already up on the channel. Go Birds as always. Oh! Andrew Nathan. Andrew Nathan. There we go. Going to take down the beer bat for the Phils. Ring that bell for the Phils. And of course, you send in that 20. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! This one from Andrew. He says, hey guys, as an Eagles fan in LA, I love my Birds. That said, it's been tough being a Dodgers fan, shaking my head. That being said, to the Phils, I'm rooting for you guys. Go Birds. Hopefully the Phillies tonight hitting some more home runs, and they're ringing that Liberty Bell at Citizens Bank Park. We got past 50. This beer bat for the Phils and for Andrew Nathan. Let's go.
Go Phils! Chug, 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 chug. Woo!
Go Phils. Go Birds. Go all of you who support the show every single week. Now we're going to sign off. Once again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Peter Thurman, our guy, saying go, 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 and go Birds. For Chip, I'm Chase. We out. We'll catch you next time here on Eagles Now. Next planned live show, if breaking news happens, we'll of course go live. Sunday Night Football watch party against the Miami Dolphins. But until that point, content, videos, shorts coming your way every single day. Peace.